we're from the most segregated city in the United States of America. That means we had a very segregated mindset because it was pushed on us that way. Because there's a lot more people with the system being involved of like promoting self, me. People forgetting about the qualities and the benefits that you can only get from being a part of something bigger than just you.
Stay tuned, stay curious. Enculturation Podcast. King Charles.
What's up?
Welcome back to the show. You're my second returning guest. So honored, so grateful to have you back on the show, man. Love what you're doing with the culture. Love what you're doing as an artist, and love how you really raise people up. So let's get into it.
Yes. Let's get into it.
Yeah. So I obviously see that you travel around the world, so I'm curious, like, what are some of your travel stories? And then what are some things you've been up to since we last talked?
Right. Oh, man. Wow. Travel stories. Well, a couple days ago, I just got back from Montreal. A couple days ago, my crew, Creation Montreal, we got accepted for a submission for a really big theater show called San Lux. And that show accepted our piece called Valkrea, which is a term that I use in my crew Creation that I made up. Valkrea is kind of like a Cree or of some sort. Creative is the seed, creation is the tree, and collaboration is how we grow together. And my crew in Montreal turned it into a whole piece, to educate people on the timeline of Chicago Footwork, from house to ghetto house to juke music to footwork tracks, And so that was a beautiful thing. We did like 4 shows. We had people from Chicago, from the crew come. So we killed that. And then I just went home and now I'm here. I'm in Cali. Let's go. But a lot of travel has been happening. Where was I right before Montreal? Where was I? I think I was in like Florida or something. I definitely did a showcase in Florida. It's been a lot of showcases this year.
Yeah, I can't say that I know everywhere you went, but like some of the far out places I've seen you gone, I think it was either India or somewhere in Africa, maybe? Like
India.
Okay.
Yeah. The plan is to eventually go to Africa. I mean, I was at Oyofe, which is an African street dance festival every year in Barcelona.
Okay.
And I plan on going back this year too.
Yeah, because I'm not sure which event it was, but it was you dancing to this song that was like, man, it put me out into like some spiritual vibes, right? Where I think you were in shorts, you judge demo, like wherever that event was. I was like, this is it.
Yes, Oyofe. Yes, so I was the judge for the African Street Dance Festival in Barcelona. Shouts out to Ulwi, one of my bros who I've known since I Love This Dance, this event in France, and he actually won my event for Work Frenzy in New York. And so he brought me out because he felt like there was a connection between Chicago Footwork and a lot of the African styles of dance, Afro, from different areas of Africa. And so there was a good connection there. He honestly wanted me to battle, but one of the battlers that he wanted me to team up with didn't show up. So he was like, well, I'm just going to have you judge instead. And so this year, since I'm going to go this year, he's like, bro, I literally just want you to come to battle. Like, so I'm like, all right, I'm going to battle, So the whole event is pretty much based on like any style that you want to do, but only to Afrobeat like music. So it's going to be lit. Oh my God, I'm so excited. But yeah, so they put on a song for me for the judge demo. I never heard it before, but it did sound very like majestic. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I tapped into. And I kind of slowed down, you know what I'm saying? Like mentally, and took my time. I mean, nobody there does Chicago Footwork, so it gives me the opportunity to take my time, to like speak a language in a way where they can actually like get something from it versus just like boom, explosion, and everybody's like, I didn't want that.
Yeah, I'm not saying that you're not tapping into like your spiritual side in other situations, but something about that song, that moment, and your dance, I was like, you were tapped in. That's why I was feeling.
Tapped in. I had my tiger shorts on. I was going in. I was like, let's do this. Like I really, really want to connect. That's the main reason why I travel. I want to connect. Like, how can we connect? I mean, I know we're connected, but how can we both realize and feel this connection at the same time? And dance is one of those ways, especially if you open up to it. So I was trying to access that. The music is like the bridge point. Now, how can we cross and like meet each other? So like I get really sensitive when I'm doing these judge demos to like the people, to the crowd, to like, how can I talk and communicate? I don't just do it for me. There are times where like I do try to focus on self for medicinal purposes, but a lot of the times I'm trying to open up so we can share the same world or the same language in that moment,
Yeah, how does it feel to represent Chicago Footwork on a global scale? Obviously, the name implies Chicago Footwork in Chicago, but now you're traveling all the world, and now there's different communities all over the world. Like, how does that? Like, what does that feel like?
Ooh, that's how it feels right there. It's my life's work. I'm dedicating my whole life to it because of all the different like doors that it's opening as far as growth within myself, within like the people that I'm meeting, the relationships that are happening, new and old relationships. Wow. And like it's very educational and it's very healthy for like my culture and my community to do this bridge work. I call it bridge work, like WERK, Chicago Footwork, So it just feels great. I was in Germany a couple times last year with like a lot of my crewmates and my students and my community. And we're talking that same talk, but it feels healthy though. It feels healthy and it doesn't feel oversaturated. Is that the right way to say it? So in this day and age, it feels like there's a lot of different dance cultures and art forms that are not necessarily being approached and appreciated for its roots and its culture and its mindsets and its values, but more for a profitable approach or game, and it seems like that's what the system or the machine is promoting and encouraging. And so more people are falling for that. And so I'm happy that Chicago Footwork, it's growing, but it feels like the road less traveled. And I like it. I like that. I'm not looking for this to be an overnight explosion of everybody doing it, because that's not actually realistic as far as like how much time and energy and spirit that was put into it before it was even exposed to the world. It doesn't match up for it to be an overnight explosion. So I would prefer for it not to be an overnight explosion. I would prefer for each person to run into this when they need to, and for it to be a part of their life if they feel that way, and for, it to not feel just like a temporary stimulation of some sort that, is more external than internal. Because the people I know from Chicago, this is all internal. When you know a culture that has been happening and thriving for over 25 years without a dime, without any money being thought about or being talked about, then that tells you right there that it's deeper. You know what I mean? And then when the opportunity of a career comes into the mix, well, that's well deserved from the people of the community. Like, yeah, we should bring this up to them. Look, you could teach classes. You could be a teacher of this. You're a master already. We should give you a space, a studio, with mirrors. A studio with mirrors? Really? You know, isn't it crazy that that's such a surprise that it's like, because when I was 21, I went into my first studio, and I had already been doing Chicago Footwork since 99. And I'm like, I felt like I made it. I was like, this is crazy. And all it makes me want to do, it doesn't make me want to like go commercial in a way where I no longer connect with like the people. It just makes me want to enhance what my heart loves even more and learn how to translate it even more, and become everything that like I can become, to have a louder voice to like educate people on this thing that changed my life. So yeah, man, it just feels great to see it growing, but like know that like even one little like sprout is a huge success of growth, you know?
Yeah, one of the unique observations I can see from Chicago Footwork that, you know, maybe it's there in other styles too, or cultures. I don't know, but at least I can see it in Chicago Footwork. Is whoever is about it is really about it.
That's the thing.
Like there's no half feet in. It's like it's fully in. Yeah,
you can't. It's not a half foot in style.
Yeah,
you can't, because honestly, everyone can tell. Even the people that are not in the community, they can tell you're not really about it, because it's very clear when people are about it. Like, it's just one of those things. So I would just rather welcome the people who want to, you know, the commercials that are out right now, you know, when people are doing like one little irk and jerk, and I'm like, come on, like, feed yourself, like get fed the real home cooked meal of this. You know what I mean? Because we still have access to the home cooked meal. You know, why not get that? You know, in the Black communities where I'm from, they have a saying. When food is really, really good, they say, oh, you put your foot in that. Or your mom put her foot in that, you know? And that's what I'm saying right now for Chicago Footwork. We got the home cooked meals where we're still putting our foot in it. So that's how you should be eating. That's how you should get fed this, you know?
Yeah, the two things that comes to my mind when I think of what you said earlier regarding being into what the culture has produced, but not being into the culture itself, right? So that would be, one is hip hop, and two is yoga. Yeah, because I don't claim to be an expert in yoga, but I believe it comes from somewhere in India, right? You know? But like, I don't see any semblance of Indian curiosity through a lot of yoga practitioners in the States. It could be so far removed. It turns, you know, not to say that it's not bringing value into people's lives still, but there's like such a disconnect, you know, where it's like, hey, let's do yoga for abs or something, or whatever, right?
And I'm sorry, I'm sorry I laughed, but I'm not sorry actually. But that just sounds really crazy, you know? It just sounds like, what's the word? It's the shell.
Yeah, and both yoga and hip hop are billion-dollar industries nowadays.
Yeah.
Right? So there's definitely so much profiting that's happening, but very, very little curiosity. Or actually, even the opposite. Not even no curiosity, but maybe I'm going to put on my my conspiracy hat for a little bit, right? Put it on now. So
put it on. He put it on.
Bear with me. It's on. You know?
Let's go.
My conspiracy hat is like, okay, there's so much power from both yoga and hip hop, right? Yes. Because I would summarize hip hop in like the root, the essence is the right to live, right? Whereas house for me is like the need to heal. You know,
I like that.
Yeah, and so the right to live is strong, right? Everyone has the right to live, and you know, and so that's how powerful hip hop is, right? Yeah. Well, now it's being turned into like, oh, it's certain ethnicities just being in a club and drinking. No, it's not. There's I think there's seriously the intention on why those communities, African American communities, are like limited in how they portray it. Like, oh, if you're on the news, you're gonna be a criminal. But let's not show how hip hop is like transforming communities.
Exactly. Yes, I really feel that. That's crazy. Wow. Yeah. That's why I said in the beginning, I said the system, the machine, the matrix, whatever you want to call it, is a really big part of the navigation of a lot of this. And that's not to say like an excuse, because I think we can still be responsible and we still have access points to utilize, to be very beneficial in healing and welcoming and encouraging and empowering to what we're doing in this day and age. But we got to figure those access points out. We got to figure it out. It's not going to always be just right in front of your face, but if it is, I think it's your responsibility to not ignore and try not to get so distracted. It's a lot of distraction.
So as Chicago Footwork is coming into contact with different communities outside of America and outside of Chicago, so like other countries overseas, there's going to be a natural process of a meeting of two cultures, right? Like the culture of Chicago Footwork and the culture of whoever is getting into it. So how do you see the style like being introduced, and how is it received, or how is it even transforming, and how is even those cultures transforming Chicago Footwork in return, right?
Man, I just got to say, I really love that question. Wow. That's the bridge work right there. That was my hopes and dreams. I saw all the qualities that we possessed already in the community of Chicago Footwork. A lot of things that we can offer that people are not experiencing in other areas or other places in other ways. But as a traveler and as a student of the world and the things that I've been taught from different communities and cultures, there's a lot of things that I still feel like needed to be learned by my people in Chicago so that they can sustain, maintain, grow, and feel the potential of how far they can go with this thing that is just a way of living to them. But then it stopped being a way of living as soon as you get out of high school, because in high school, junior high school, elementary school, it's just fun. And then rent, bills, work comes into play, and Chicago Footwork wasn't talking that talk that matches that responsibility. So then you put it away, you teach it to someone else, and you act like an OG when you're 18, 19, 20. You're like, oh yeah, I used to do that when I was a little, when I was younger. So you get in this mindset because the system put you in it.
Man, imagine that, someone 18 or 19 saying, I used to do that when I was younger.
Exactly. You see what I'm saying? And so I wanted to change that narrative. As I started traveling more, I was like being a student of all these different people teaching me things. And I'm like, yo, this cannot just be for me. Like, I need to figure out how to get these people back to Chicago. Okay, well, first off, let's build a relationship. Let's get cool. Let's see how far we go. And then let's exchange. Boom. Some of these people wanted to learn Chicago Footwork. So I tried my best to represent my teachers, represent the people who taught me, and pass them information that might get them more and more excited about, getting curious about joining in on what we're doing. Cool. Some of them stayed. Some of them pushed. I found all types of incredible people, superheroes in their own right, to come to Chicago and want to support. Boom. They came to Chicago. They're coming to Chicago now. They're curious, They're showing respect to this culture as well, But then as soon as they come, they're realizing wow, some of these footworkers from Chicago are also curious about us. You know what I mean? Yeah, of course, we're from one of the most segregated cities in the United States of America. They don't see people that look like you. Okay, so they're gonna ask questions. Yo, so where you from? So how do you say hello in your language? Isn't that like a basic sentence? How do you say hello? So what do y'all be eating? Y'all be eating that over there? Oh, that's crazy. Wow. And that goes from, the very basic stuff to the deep stuff that's life-changing information that they're going to carry with them for the rest of their lives on both ends. and I'm just sitting there in the back, just watching it, just enjoying it from the audience, from the back seat. And it's just amazing. I don't take all the credit. I just feel like it just feels good to be a part of this support system and this bridge work. And it's just the beginning too. We got this festival now, this thing that we're trying to turn into a holiday called FAM, FAM, Footwork Appreciation Month. And so it's every August, and a lot of the crews, DJ labels, parades all happen in August in Chicago. So we throw our anniversary there. Other crews throw their picnics and everything. So we're like, let's stamp this. Let's try to really stamp this to the point where maybe the mayor can back us on this, or, different people. So I have a pretty good amount of outreach in the world, like with my students. So I tell them, come out during Footwork Appreciation Month. And so we've been doing that successfully for a few years now, where a lot of people come out and we set the whole thing up. We have little beach gatherings, because we got beach in Chicago, parties, picnics. We take them to all the other crews' events and stuff like that. We throw ours, and then we throw this dance camp called CFology, Chicago Footworkology, where we give a lot of the OGs the opportunity to teach master classes at a dance camp for all these international students, as well as the students on the ground in Chicago. Because we're also making a lot of noise in Chicago in our segregated areas, where people from the north, from different ethnicities, never thought that it was okay to come over into the Black communities and learn this dance. They never thought that they were welcomed. And maybe they weren't. Maybe there was just a natural wall there. But like, everybody's ready now. You could just feel it in the air. All these crews are ready. They're all ready to just like connect with each other more.
Would it be fair to say that the wall of segregation is being broken down slowly?
Yes, brick by brick, brick by brick. But it's very clear now. See, when I saw the bricks coming down 15 years ago, when I was doing Madonna and all this other stuff, it wasn't noticeable. So people would fight you, on their belief system, but but it's not noticeable because it's like 2 bricks out of like 1,000. But now it's like 50 bricks to 100 bricks came down, and everyone can see like, oh, on the other side, they're seeing that there's something actually there. And there's the curiosity, and everybody's noticing, everyone's gravitating towards it. You even got like big events like coming in, Red Bull, Snipes, they're coming into Chicago now because they're hearing like from word of mouth, like, yo, they got a dance community there too. Chicago Footwork's in Chicago. We should throw our stuff there. We should open a studio there. We should invest in Chicago. You know what I mean? Oh, you didn't know house music was from Chicago? Oh, Soul Train's from Chicago. Like, we're getting more and more reach from other places, but that information takes time to circulate, and it takes a few good people to like be the circulators of it. You know what I'm saying? To like go around and actually spread that word and let people know. That's why I appreciate people like Buddha Stretch and like a lot of the OGs that I met, Pop and Pete, Khalifa, like a lot of these guys, when I came around as a young kid, like, they knew where I was from, and they were like, yo, we want to support you in representing like where you're from. They couldn't represent where I'm from. I had to do it, but they helped me get the platform to do it, And so I appreciate that, because they knew that I was trying to do things like that, but I just needed guidance from people who've been spreading their city and their cultures for longer than me. So yeah, it all made sense on why these bricks are coming down now.
Yeah, amazing, man. I'm so happy and proud of your not yours, but yours, and also like the community's contributions.
Yes, it's great.
So when you were at that event in Barcelona, what was it called again?
Oyofe.
Okay, Oyofe. Yeah. So considering it's an African dance festival, and you brought Chicago Footwork there, like what was that community? Like, how did they perceive seeing Chicago Footwork?
I remember I was in an elevator with some of like the top dancers at the festival. We were all in the elevator. It was like 8 of us. And I was just in the back, just being quiet, because I'm like, most of these people don't know me here, And it was really funny because before we got out of the elevator, like they all were saying my name, like, bro, we know who you are, bro. The king is in the building. Like King Charles is here. I was like, that's crazy. Like I had no expectation of being known in this community because I haven't even been to Africa yet. But in this day and age, people are seeing each other.
So you're saying these African style dancers already knew you?
Yes.
Okay.
They definitely knew me. And there was a lot of love there, a lot of support, like from the very beginning, and I don't know, that was very surprising to me. I always get surprised with that. I just don't want to have any expectation that someone knows me. You know what I mean? Like I would rather come in the first time we see each other face to face, put in the work to introduce who I am, and that be a proper introduction. You know what I'm saying? Hello, my name is Charles. Some people call me King Charles, KC, Charlie, whatever you want to call me. But this is me introducing myself, But I guess some people have already encountered like a video of mine or have a friend who knows me or something like that sometimes. And so that's always cool. It always feels good. So when I did my judge demo or when I was partying with them, it felt way more warm and welcoming quicker than I expected. I thought I was going to have to come for a few years and like introduce myself, but yeah.
So what was their perception of the dance style?
I like the vibe that I get from them when I do Chicago Footwork, because it doesn't just look like they're looking for fast feet. That's actually getting annoying to me, because I get those videos all the time. People send me videos of just people moving their feet fast. I'm like, question mark? Why are you sending me this? Well, I figured they're moving their feet fast, so I send it to you. Yeah, but that's not my focus. You see what I'm saying? My focus is not to move my feet fast. My focus is to connect to the music and the energy that is asking me to do something. You know what I mean? And so that's what it looks like they're looking at the Oyofe festival. When they're watching me, they're looking for the feeling that I'm getting that's making me respond in this certain way from my culture. They're looking for these pockets because they got pockets. Their pockets are so deep. When I say, pockets, everyone needs to check their pockets, okay? Because some people don't got pockets, And when I say pockets, I mean like that deep, in-depth feeling that's oozing out of your body when you're dancing, like that sauce. You know what I mean? Like there's nothing that's going to break you from this music. And we're not just talking about a limb. We're talking about your whole body's into it. You see what I'm saying? I can see your shoulders bouncing. I see your head. I see your confidence. I see and not the confidence just in your face, but like in the micro expression that you're doing rhythmically to this music. It's priceless. And so when a person learns how to access that from their roots or from their connection or from their relationships, you can see that in someone else. And I love when I'm in a room with people who can see that. Now, sometimes I go places, I'm teaching classes, people still need to learn the basics and stuff. Cool. We all have our time and place when we learn how to see things in different lenses. But going there, it motivated me on a whole new level of like some of the people I want to connect with for my growth. Yes, and I want to go to Africa and meet with more of them and like connect. Also, by the way, I'm just throwing this out there. One of the oldest names for Africa is called Alka Bulan. And I just learned that recently. So every time I've been saying Africa, I've been saying Alka Bulan in my head. But yeah, I definitely love the pocket there. And it's not an age thing. It's not an age range thing. It's like, oh, you're 30, so you got a really tight groove or a really nice pocket. You look at those kids and they're like 6, just in it. You know what I'm saying? In it. So yeah, of course, like I would say upbringing, life, family, genes, you know what I mean? All of that good stuff, you know. It's just a really well-cooked meal.
Yeah, the tiny bit of study I did with African dance, one of my takeaways is there's a why or purpose for the whole dance.
Yeah.
Like this dance could be celebrating the sun or the harvest season or something. You know, there's a clear why, and there's a clear like a deepness to it.
Yes. Deepness is how we should just be approaching everything. That's just my opinion. That's how I feel. Stop.
Yeah, when MT Pop was on here, or when I got to hang out with him, he mentioned that he's not, even though he has a lot of concepts, but he's not approaching it from a conceptual base, right? He's more like, okay, let's say you're moving from over here. He's not focused on the fact that he's moving from here to here in those rule sets.
Mm-hmm.
He's more like, what character or who am I as I'm moving through the space? You know, like, am I like sad? Am I whatever? You know, so like that's what it really interests him.
He's being honest about how he's feeling.
Yeah,
and he's expressing it in the moment. I got the opportunity to see that. I really enjoyed him, you know, because like he was really like in it. There was no disconnection, and it didn't seem like it was I want to say robotic, but not in the sense of dance, but in the sense of like empty. You know what I'm saying?
Hard to say that. Maybe, do you mean like forced or emulated?
Yeah, like he just wasn't dry.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it didn't look like he was thinking very hard. Okay, all right, I got to place my hand right here and I got to do this. And you could tell that he had a lot of practice, a lot of training, but not just a lot of training on the execution, but a lot of training on like, how can I combine all the layers of my identity and how I feel all together?
Yeah, that's a very accurate observation based on what he told me, where he was like, he says he still practices, right? But nowadays he tunes in with himself, like, hey, how am I feeling? How am I feeling today? Does the music fit my vibe? You know?
Exactly. That's all I'm saying. That's literally all I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah. So, what a great experience in Barcelona. Okay, so what about your time in Japan? Because I saw one clip of you battling or exchanging with somebody who's Japanese in Japan that does Chicago Footwork, right? One of the reasons why I'm curious about Japan is from my talks with Ijo and Stretch and a few others, where the business in Japan is obviously very big.
Mm-hmm.
How big, I don't know, but it's just huge, right? Yeah, but the full history is not always taught in Japan, you know? So what's been your experience with like Chicago Footwork, Japanese dance as a whole, you know?
The first time I went to Japan was in 2012, and it was because of an apology that was given to me by another dancer who decided to make a Chicago Footwork performance team for a Japanese national television show. And it looked like they were dressing like me and some of my people from our company that we were a part of. And the thing that was the most clear was that they actually took our choreography from some of our performances. So when I saw that, I decided to contact their senpais, which is their OGs, and just pretty much acknowledge that I'm out here really trying to spread this the right way, and that I would love the proper support and respect, and bringing the real thing out, or just not putting it on TV like you know what you're doing, when you know better than that, because you've been training in other dance styles very seriously. But when a dance culture or dance style is not necessarily in that country, people from that country might want it so bad, or might want the edge so bad on the television competition, that they try to study it and utilize it even though it's not there, so that they can be maybe the first in that country to say that they're doing it, when in actuality they're not. You're not doing it, like, in my opinion, you're not doing it unless it's a part of your life. That's just my opinion. So we talked, they wanted to apologize, and they flew me out. That was my first trip to Japan. Now, if I'm going to be honest, I had a feeling like, well, this is not going to happen again. So I should probably take advantage of this opportunity to make connections while I'm in Japan, And so I did. Shouts out to Hiro too. He's a legendary house dancer from Japan, because he was the person's spot that I was staying at, who was just showing me love for being a first timer in Japan. Yeah, he helped clear everything up too. He wasn't the one on the TV show, but yeah, that's the bro. We go way back. So I went and enjoyed Japan and tried to make some connections, and I did. I found some people who might be interested in Chicago footwork out there, and there was a couple footworkers already in Japan that were connected some way, somehow online with a crew from Chicago called Prophecy. There was one guy named Takuya, just to set the record straight. The first Chicago footworker in Japan ever, his name was Takuya. Yeah. And Wheezy.
And they learned from Prophecy, is that?
They were learning online, and they were learning from people from Chicago, bits and pieces, I'm not sure if those people from Chicago actually came to Japan. I don't think I was the first to come, but I think I was the first to really actually have a crew in Japan, like a large amount of people. I got motivated by what was already the seeds that were already planted.
So are you saying that there's a Creation Japan?
There is a Creation Japan.
Okay. Is that the crew you're referring to?
Yes. So Creation Global has Creation LA, Creation Chicago, different places that I've lived and that I've tried to support, and places that I haven't lived, like Japan. But, I met the right people who wanted to help me build and build the right way. So yeah, we have about 8 members in Japan. Yeah, we got about 8 members in Japan. Shouts out to Mickey and Yamato. They're the ones running the crew out there. Mickey was actually a part of Creation Japan, Mickey Ishizaka, and then she moved back to Japan to help Yamato, and we've been doing our thing out there. I'm actually going to Japan the end of August this year. I haven't been back since 2019 because of the pandemic, so it's going to be a great return. And I'm part Japanese actually too. I found out my mom is a quarter. What does that make me? If she's a quarter, what does that make me? An eighth?
Yeah, eighth.
That's funny. I'm an eighth. I'll take that. That's too funny.
Do you feel like things made a 180 or a turnaround based on that apology introduction in Japan, or how did things transpire after that incident?
Yeah, it was definitely a big turnaround. I mean, the guy who brought me out, I actually even jumped on stage with him, with some of his people, to show that I'll support as long as you guys take the proper steps, but they're mostly house dancers that were trying to feature some Chicago footwork in their stuff. And if you're going to feature it and you don't know how to do it, try to bring the real thing. So they brought me. So I came and I represented. And then, from there, I started going to Japan every year. I got signed to an agency out there. I was hitting the dance studios up. I was entering in the battles. I was judging events. That's when I started to really enter in the hip hop category as well. I think I won my first ever one-on-one hip hop battle in life in Japan. Yeah, I did. It was at a club called Eggman in 2014. And I battled this legendary hip hop dancer named UK. I think he's from Germany.
Okay, yeah, I know that dude.
Yeah. We battled in the finals. Yuxin might have been the judge, not the judge, the DJ. Okay. And
UK used to be more active, I feel. But I haven't seen him, or I don't know him personally, but I haven't seen his dance in recent years.
No, yeah. I feel like, I don't know, he might be doing different things now. Yeah. But yeah, it was an honor to battle. And Batala was one of the judges. Yeah, it was crazy. It was definitely lit. I really appreciated that battle, because I didn't know what I was capable of, and that helped me like figure out that I do want to sign up for more other categories, because I get busy. And I grew up in a lifestyle that's a lot of people would say is a hip hop lifestyle. I also grew up as an MC. So yeah, I did grow up in a hip hop lifestyle. And Chicago Footwork kind of like is in connection between hip hop and house. We have our connections to these things in lifestyle and in music. So yeah, I just expressed that out there. And then I ended up winning a bunch of hip hop events in Japan. We battled Paradox and Dimension out in Japan too. Me and Comfort Fidoki. Shout out to Comfort. Shout out to Paradox. Shout out to Dimension.
Yeah, I'm not sure who Comfort and Dimension are, but yeah, I love Paradox. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Paradox. Yeah, he goes crazy. Yeah, so that was fun too. Yeah, we battled, and that was the actual next year, 2015. This event called WDC. Yeah, so yeah, I started getting addicted out there. Actually, what's crazy, I had long hair since I was a kid. And after the first time I went to Japan, I chopped it all off. And everybody was like, why'd you do that? I was like, I don't know. Japan. I chopped my hair off, which is weird because, I mean, in ancient times, chopping your hair off in Japan wasn't looked highly upon, especially for like the samurai and stuff, like to chop the ponytail off, So I didn't mean it in that way. But for me, it felt like a fresh start. It felt like a brand new start to something new. And I wanted to feel like it was something new. So yeah, I did a big change, cut my hair off.
Yeah, super cool. So for my listeners listening, I want to make clear that I'm not focusing on Japan just to pick on Japan, but it's just like the only videos I've seen, so it's natural question.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, for me, like it's all interesting. We could talk about my trips to Japan. We could talk about when I had a broke foot and I was teaching classes in Russia, St. Petersburg, or
how do you even? I think Chicago Footwork is hard enough with like 2 working feet. So I should do a broken foot, bro.
Yo, like I was traveling the world for 6 months straight with a broke foot, fractured foot on crutches. I fractured my foot in Brazil doing a tryout. I was holding a tryout for my crew in Brazil. And I was too excited and I fractured it. And it was the best place in the world to fracture your foot, as crazy as that sounds. Because they just show you so much love out there. You forget that your foot is fractured. They're cooking. You guys are dancing and lots of love. And
everybody go to Brazil and fracture your foot. Break a leg. It's what he's saying.
That's crazy. No, it was really crazy. It was this Brazilian dude. He came up to me and he was speaking in Portuguese and my shoes that I fractured my foot in, I thought they were cursed or something. So I just never wore them again. I left them there. And as I'm driving off to leave town to go to Curitiba, I was in Belo Horizonte and I'm going to Curitiba. And the guy runs with my shoes to the car like, you left your shoes. I'm like, no, I don't want those shoes. He looks at them. He's like, and in Portuguese, he's like, can I have them? I looked at his feet. I was like, looks like they're your size. Yeah, go ahead. He looked like this was the best gift ever. He asked me to sign them. And then like, as we drove off, my friend was like, yo, his name is the same as your name. I was like, that's crazy. And like 2 years later, I saw him on a FaceTime and he was still wearing the shoes. I said, this is crazy. Like, I don't know how to feel about that because I don't want those shoes, but like I said, that was if I was to fracture my foot anywhere, it makes sense that it was in Brazil, And so from there, Russia, Mexico, LA, like all types of places. Yeah, and I figured out a way how to teach classes, Chicago Footwork classes on one foot. That was crazy.
Yeah, how do you do that? Was it just like a triple time and one leg the whole time? Or what?
Oh, man. I created this thing called HOW, the How method.
Okay.
So a nickname for Chicago Footwork is called WERKs, WERK. So how means hands on works. Yeah. So in Chicago Footwork, sometimes we use our hands to demonstrate what we're trying to do. If I want to, like, if we're about to go on stage and like I kick my hand, I flick my hand in a certain way, somebody will know exactly what move I'm trying to tell them to do, you know, because we do similar movements sometimes while we're dancing. So I just try to own that and just really like go in on that and see if I could like teach a whole class like that. So I would go to Italy. Like I went to Italy and I had an assistant just in case I couldn't do it. Shouts out to Cece, who actually lives in the Bay now. And I'm like, okay, class. So these are my hands, but imagine them being my feet. Okay. Now, if I do this with my hands, what did I just do? And then everybody does a crisscross with their feet. I'm like, good job. Okay. All right. Now what happens if I do this? Everybody kick their foot. I'm like, okay. So we're going places now. You know what I'm saying? So then I would go more into detail. I'll say, this is my heel. This is my toe. And then I would just choreograph the whole thing. I had 200 people going crazy in Chicago Footwork. Excellent performance. Great. You wouldn't even know. Like if you came in there, you'd be like, yo, Charles is here. Like he's killing again with both of his feet. Nope, he's not killing with both of his feet. He's got crutches and he's hopping all around this class, flicking his hands all over the place.
Is that some of the why behind some of the Chicago Footwork hands? Because I've seen similar hand movements between you and some of your other members.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, yeah. Like, so one of the basic ways that I teach Chicago Footwork, because there's so many different styles of Chicago Footwork, is same arm, same leg, same hand, same leg as a base, but not as like the only go-to. But like, I know that this is going to be an awkward feeling for you because when you walk opposition. So how about we get this out the way? I show you same hand, same leg. So kick your right foot and lift your right hand at the same time. Okay. Now kick your right foot to the back and show me how you would follow it to the back. Okay. All right. Now twist your feet on the floor. And how would you use your hands to demonstrate what your feet are doing or to complement your feet? People do it for different reasons. Some people call it like the puppeteer effect. So it's like they're controlling their legs with their hands. You know, other people, they would just say like they're decorating their footwork with like their upper body style. Some people just say like they're in the full body feeling of it all, you know. I just took advantage of that, especially when I had no other choice but to, because I had one foot, and to really like show people that, you know, this could be a translation for you for your beginner classes. And when we're freestyling, you can go from opposition to hands on the same hand, same leg. You can go back and forth, you know. You'll probably see it in a lot of my videos too. Like if you pay attention or if you click slow motion, for those who need the slow motion button, you can see me supporting the opposite leg with the opposite hand. And then in that same motion, my hand goes back over to the same leg. You know, it just depends on how I'm feeling in the moment. I've been doing it for so long now. It just depends on how I'm feeling.
Okay. That's a cool explanation. What about like the shoulder movement? Because I noticed like sometimes you'll dance with like a heightened shoulder or like a shrugged shoulder. Yeah.
Yeah. So from where I'm from, like there was this thing I would see all the time when I was a kid. You would see somebody footworking, and then you would see like some people in the background wanting to support the person footworking. So they would be like, ayo, ayo, and they would grab the back of your shirt and pull it up as if you're like some type of hangman or scarecrow. And so then naturally, because they pull it up, your shoulders go up and you're still footworking, you know. And then if you really embrace that, you act like you like pass out or something and then come back to life. You know what I mean? Like, so people would embrace that and they would keep their shoulders up. You know, that was the first time I saw people footworking with their shoulders up more. And then the other way that I saw people footworking with their shoulders up was because during the wintertime, you don't footwork as much outside. So then you're footworking in the house. But if you're a kid, you're a teenager, it's not your house. So you might be upstairs, your parents downstairs, and if you make too much noise, you and your friends got to get out, and you got to go to sleep or you get in trouble. So you don't want to get in trouble, and you over here battling, you're going 160 BPM. So how do you do that without making a lot of noise? How do you sneak in a room without making a lot of noise? Exactly. And I don't know what that really is, but it just got stuck with our community, with our culture, and I love it. I love that extra accent of like lifting the shoulders so you can be light on your feet.
Yeah, and also I feel like the shoulder shrug or lifting of the shoulders is also associated when someone is like kind of like sneaking around up to no good, like he.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm glad I asked you because in some ways it reminds me of the Chicago Footwork equivalent of Toy Man from Popping. Because I think in Toy Man Popping they are like a puppet, right, or like a toy man, you know?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm saying it's the same thing, but it reminds me of it.
Right. No, I feel that.
Yeah. So with so many communities being introduced and mixing with this style and this culture, what's the line for inspiration, innovation, and evolving versus like preservation of the style? You know, because like things are bound to change at some point, right? Like, and is that are you already there, or like what does that change look like, and how do you welcome in change, right?
Yeah. Change is continuously happening. I mean, it's just pretty much it's just inspiration from different places, and then incorporating that in what you like to express. And if that's Chicago Footwork, let's say you're in the 80s and you're watching Michael Jackson, or you're watching James Brown, or you're watching Bobby Brown, or you're watching Soul Train, and Soul Train's in California, and you see people popping, and there's not a lot of popping in Chicago, and you like it, you might pop, you know what I'm saying? Or try to do your own like vibe of it from off the television that you watched it, you know, on, without having a teacher. So it's, of course, it's not going to look like on point, like how actual popping is, but like you're embracing it, you're getting inspired. And this is me just like saying scenarios, possible things that have actually happened. I remember when me and one of my former mentors, Budilla, we were at his house and we were trying to get some inspiration to make up some tag moves for our routine for Chicago Footwork. And we were watching a Justin Timberlake video, and we saw some choreography on there where they were doing a wave over each other's heads. We were like, that was so lit. So we were like, what if we do a wave over somebody's head, but like we started off like we're zombies, we're walking up, and then once we get into a perfect line from the zombie walk, then we like, half of us like goes through the hands and the other half is like waving the hands over the head. And we thought that that was just so cool in like 2005, 2006, you know, to add to what we were doing in Chicago Footwork. These are little examples. I feel like me, Prince J-Ron, and a few different individuals that decided to enter, and like Just the Boo decided to enter in these different categories, we had to not only represent Chicago Footwork, but adapt to our environment, because we realized if we're only doing Chicago Footwork, that the translation's not coming off across, and we're not going to be able to get that far in our conversation. So we have to speak a certain language that they're already speaking, just to like get them comfortable in what we want to say as well. And I think that was a really smart approach. So that's why I started entering in these hip hop battles and these house categories, which I call it New York house, because that's not the type of house dance that we were doing growing up in Chicago. So I'm like, okay, I see a different reaction when I do that. Boom. New York house, bow with the jack, bow, you know what I'm saying? Then I see everybody's body language change because they're used to seeing that. Boom. Then I throw some dribbles and some two steps and some Micah Nikes and some irks in there, and they're like, whoa, that was crazy. You know what I mean? This is how I feel like people were perceiving, but not really realizing that I'm one of the ones that's like taking the Chicago footwork culture somewhere where there's change added to it now. There was a point in time where I was a little bit closed-minded, and I was like closed off to the idea of people saying, well, hey, Charles, like, what if I want to do Chicago footwork and I want to pop? What if I want to mix the two together? I was against that. I was against that because it was the fear of thinking that they were going to just take a couple moves from Chicago footwork and then try to fuse it with popping without understanding the reason, without understanding the culture or any of that stuff. You know what I mean?
When I hear that, what I think of? I think of people with random Chinese tattoos on their body. And it's just a Chinese character that says like, I don't know, chicken or ABC or something, But like other than it being a Chinese character, there's nothing behind it, right?
No, exactly. Why'd you get that? I thought it looked cool, And that's the thing that scared me, because I would see that even in my workshops. I would teach a Chicago footwork move and I see somebody jacking their head and I'm like, there's no jack to this. Oh, well, I do house. So I figured like it would be dope if I like put that in there. I'm like, yeah, well, what are you coming here for? You want a kick or two? That's why you coming in here. You paying this money because you want a couple kicks. It just sounds too simple to me. It just sounds too small. You know what I'm saying? And so, yeah, I was a little scared about that. But then it wasn't until I realized that I am that. Not in the sense of shortcutting, but in the sense of I enjoy these different walks of life of dance. So how can I be mad if someone's trying to take those different walks of life as well? You know what I mean? So there is still a difference if there's the people who just want to kick or step and think that they can understand the entire culture of Chicago footwork or the entire community or culture of any of these dance styles. But the ones who are actually like, I want to learn Chicago footwork. I want to learn this over here and I have the time to do both. And then I want to enter in this open style event or this event where I can just do whatever I want because the music is playing all different types of stuff. So in the same sense of me, like I'm grooving and some Chicago footwork moves are coming out and some hits are coming out. I'm not mad at that. But let's be very clear. You're not representing traditional Chicago footwork in that moment. Don't say you are, because you're not. This is not traditional. And traditional should never disappear. That's how I feel. Okay? I could turn it on and I can switch it. You know what I'm saying? You put me in a situation, I want to vibe with the situation. If I need to be a freaking turquoise color mixed with purple and orange for this situation, that's what I'm going to be. But if I need to be my traditional blue, what's traditional blue? If I need to be my traditional blue, like solid blue, I've spent years and years and years of understanding this blue without tampering with it at all. I've spent years doing that. And I just feel like there's a lot of qualities and value in that. You know what I'm saying? Understanding the ins and outs of the simple things, of the little things, and then understanding how big and intricate these little things are, on the inside,
Is it important because of the preservation of the movement, or do you feel it's also important because these movements are tied to like a place in history, and so those movements kind of represent the time period at a time, and so by preserving the movement, you're also preserving the time?
Yes, you're preserving the time by preserving the movement, but you're also learning how to answer questions in your life situations by comparing it to a situation in your dance training, by comparing it to a situation in a moment at a battle or a performance or in a moment of pressure. Chicago Footwork is pressure. You move all the moves out the way. You remove all the steps, the grooves out the way. It's pressure. At its core, it's a flame, and you're standing in it. And because you're not used to standing in a flame, you're feeling this pressure. And so that's a life experience, you know, from the raw element of it. You know, I like to connect things to like Avatar, the show, with the airbender. And I'm like, every city that I've ever been to, I wonder what the people there would consider the dominant element of that city to be. Like, oh, you're from the Bay. Would you say this is like a water nation here, an air temple area, a fire city? What would you say? Which I'm actually curious. Are you like, you grew up in the Bay?
No, I didn't grow up in the Bay. So I am from Vietnam, but I live in San Diego for most of my life.
Okay.
So for the past 20 years, from 99 to 2020.
Okay. So would you say, what element of that city would you say it's predominantly? Would you say it's an earth nation or fire, water?
I feel like it's water because of how chill and mellow it is. Not to say that water can't be more turbulent and opposing, right?
Right.
Well, okay, so let me see if I can say this right. If you were to visit Honolulu, obviously there's a lot of controversy around Hawaii, whether it's actually real estate versus like it being taken over, you know, and being gentrified and getting pushed out. So I'm not saying that's not important, but my experience of first time being in Honolulu, based on the way it is now, with very few locals around, right? It felt like San Diego, but on an island, or San Diego feels like Hawaii on land, right? It felt like an island place where it's very, very chill, and then it's very gentrified. So
that part.
Yeah, so that part, right? So I'm not saying, don't be mad. I'm not saying those topics aren't important, right? I'm saying my experience in Honolulu is like, oh, it's exactly like San Diego, where it feels like time slowed down in San Diego. You know, there's no hustle, there's no urgency.
Yeah.
Which can be good because some people are like, yeah, I like how chill it is. No one's after me. No one's like hitting an agenda. So it's very family oriented. But when you want to start something, everyone's like, I'll do it later.
That's interesting. You know, because in Chicago, it's like a fire nation, you know. There's a lot of passion inside of everybody, and they don't fully know what to do with it. So it comes out in a positive way, a negative way. It's just a lot of pressure all the time. And so and then also what fire shows is like reaction time is very quick. Igniting really quickly. Like you got 1 second before an altercation starts. And that's why Chicago Footwork is so healthy, because like they use that same mindset, that same attitude, that same ignition, that same 1 second, no hesitation type mindset in the dance. Boom. You know what I'm saying? So that's how quick the interactions are. But I find it really interesting because I live in Phoenix now. And if I was to be honest, I don't know. I might say that it's a fire city. I mean, just alone based off the temperature. But if I was to say it's a fire city, it's almost as if they're moving slower because of how hot it is, because they're like breathing in the heat, you know? It's like those lizards that, I don't know if this is a good example, but like they're just taking their time. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes the floor is really, really hot. So they're like lifting one leg. You know those lizards?
Yeah. To me, it makes sense because of how hot things can be. And so you got to be mindful of how much you exert yourself.
Yeah. But here's the craziest part. Chicago is like a fire nation. I still have never been proven otherwise. It's a fire nation. Did you know that one of the most like biggest places for Chicago people to migrate to in the United States is Arizona?
Oh, really?
It's crazy.
And so you live there now, right?
Yes, I do. And I thought that I wasn't gonna know anybody from Chicago. I'm literally telling you, I go to the airport, I go through security check, and a footworker is working at the airport like,
Oh,
bro,
really?
bro, King Charles, bro, we used to battle back in the day. I'm like, bro, we in Arizona. I'm like, what group you used to be with? I used to be with Too Fatal. That's crazy, man. You should come to my class. I teach class at Jukebox. And then like I go to Whole Foods, you know what I'm saying? Hey, what's good? What's good with you, bro? What? Who you with? Oh yeah, man, I'm with Havoc. You first. Where y'all coming from? Like, why are y'all all coming out here? Some people, they say it's like a good place to like get a good bang for your buck. Like, so you work really hard and you go there and you like get a home or something like that. But I think Chicago, like a lot of Chicago people are trying to like get away from that cold. So that's one reason. And they're also trying to get a good bang for their buck. Also, the Cubs, the Chicago Cubs, do all their spring training in Arizona. I don't know why, but they do. And so I went to a baseball game where it was the Chicago Cubs versus the Diamondbacks. I think that's the name of the baseball team in Arizona.
Okay.
I should know that. I've been there for like 4 years now. It's okay. There was more Chicago people there than Arizona people at the game in Arizona. I was like, oh my God, this is crazy.
You ever feel like you're on a path, and you're being guided towards like
to go back to Chicago or something?
No. What I meant was like, obviously there must be some kind of reason why so many Chicagoans are in Arizona, and you happen to be there before you realize all this, right?
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly. I'm trying to figure all of that out. Like even one time I left the movie theater, and me and my wife were walking across the street. And I hear nothing but Chicago Footwork tracks playing out of somebody's car. And it's loud. I'm in Arizona. That's the last thing I expect. In Chicago, yeah, you hear people, the subwoofers, the speakers is booming. But at a stop sign, I hear it. And my Chicago just comes out. I ignite. So I move my wife out the way in the crosswalk. And I start doing a whole freestyle round in front of the car. The dude in the car stops all traffic, gets out the car at the stop sign, and does a whole round with me. It was crazy, yo. This is what I'm saying. Like, it's a lot of Chicago people in Arizona, and so they're bringing that Fire Nation with them. They're getting attracted to a whole nother Fire Nation. It is what it is. It's beautiful in that aspect. It's great. You know what I'm saying? It's just wow.
Man, what a moment. I wish I was like just. Like I wish I didn't know who you were, and then just like kind of like be a what do you call it, a passerby,
And you see me at the crosswalk and just going crazy.
like you sure got summoned, like
I think that's a part
because I feel like Chicago Footwork tracks, it's not a genre that you can just randomly find. You have to seek it out, right?
Yeah. It's it's getting more popular, but yeah, it is one of those genres where it's like, yeah, you're right. You do got to seek it out. You do got to know some people, or you got to be in that scene that likes drum and bass or electro, like, you know what I mean?
Like the other day, one of my neighbors, I still haven't met this neighbor, but he or she was playing some hard ass popping tracks, right? I'm like, who lives there?
Next door?
Not next door, right down the street. They're like, boom, boom, boom. I was like somebody dancer lives there.
Yeah.
Because like that's, I don't say it's abnormal, but like most average folks don't listen to that genre of music. Right?
Yeah, it's a very distinct sound.
Yeah.
That translates a whole bunch of stuff to you. Like, wait, okay, wow, popping. There's somebody in here who probably danced 9 times out of 10. You know what I mean? We're on the West Coast. You start calculating, you're like, that's crazy. No, that's really cool. I feel like it's just the beginning of like running into people from Chicago and Arizona. I think, yeah, you're right. Because I lived in LA for 8 years. And I just feel like I'm getting called, I'm getting navigated somewhere. And I don't plan on leaving AZ, yeah. Especially now that I'm a homeowner.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate that. Thank you. And so, yeah, maybe this is a part of the way that I do my bridge work. Since all these people are moving to Arizona with kind of more of a retired mindset, A lot of people move to Arizona with a retired mindset. It's not one of those states that you go to like a LA, like, I'm going to try to make it big. You know what I mean? Like more of a retired mindset in a sense, like not necessarily for your work, but maybe for your work, WERK. You know what I mean? Like a lot of Chicago footworkers who stop dancing go to Arizona. And here I am, you know, prime time. I'm like, yo, come to my class. I want you to do a demonstration to these students of like what you used to do back in the day. And maybe I can like get that engine going again. You know what I mean? So yeah, I'm keeping contact with all these guys who I'm running into at the airports and everything like that. You know, maybe they can give me some connects going through the airport, make my visit to the airport that much smoother. But it's just really crazy because I haven't even run into footworkers at the airport that much in Chicago.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's really crazy. I mean, I'm talking about people who are working there at the airport. Like, bro, we used to battle back in the day. That's in Arizona. That's crazy. Like, it's just really crazy, man.
That's so cool. I haven't had that experience with other cultures, but you know, because usually I kind of just assume that I'm not going to run into anybody that does this style randomly, unless I'm going to an event and everyone's getting off the airport, which makes sense, right?
That makes a lot of sense.
To be in a place like Arizona, like, oh yeah, Chicago Footwork. What?
yeah. Like what? Well, shouts out to my crew because I was telling you I had different chapters of my crew. I do have Creation Arizona too. AJ, BB, Leia, and DJ T-Rail, who I was telling you earlier. He was co-producer of that track Drop Goes Bang from a video that I did that I just did like 4 shows to in Montreal. So it's a handful of us there, and then there's a guy from Wolfpack crew named J Rock out there, Too Fatal, dude from Havoc. It was 2 people from Havoc at one point. And I just feel like, and C-Ball, rest in peace. C-Ball was out there too from Final Chapter. So yeah, I got to find all these guys. I need to make a really big event and make like a little exhibition promotion bracket for Chicago Footwork. You know, get that circulating and get all these guys to come out without the pressure of like having to compete and losing to judges, because that's not in our culture. That's coming into our culture now. But it's like more traditional for us to just battle without the pressure of like 2-round limit, 60-second limit, all this other stuff. No, we just battled for life. You know what I mean? Like if I wanted to battle you, I don't need anybody cutting me off, like saying like 5, 4, 3. No. You know, I'm talking about the era of when I got a personal beef with you. So I'm coming to your mom's house where you live, knocking on your door. Hey, is Kevin home? Yeah, what's your name? Can you tell him Charles is at the door? Hey, Kevin, somebody named Charles at the door to see you. Charles? Yeah. What's up, bro? Come on outside. Let's get this cracking. What you talking about? What? You come to my house? Yup. Let's go. I want the whole neighborhood to see this. No breaks. First person who passes out loses. You know what I mean?
Did you battle in front of like someone's parents like that before?
Oh, yeah. Like it was a different type of like W. It was a different type of loss.
Yeah.
You know, it was a real life loss. If I beat you in front of your whole neighborhood, fair and square, like KO, like not just like a couple judges voting for somebody. I'm talking like the neighborhood that supports you is saying that this dude that's not from the neighborhood smoked you. There's no way to get around that. That's literally the clearest W you can take, is if your neighborhood is saying you lost.
What is that experience like? Especially calling out someone who's at home in front of their parents. What is that like? Like, did you ever have like the parents, who are you? Get out of here, or I don't know.
Right. Well, you know, it was more like wrapped around like the community. Like the parents could be there too, but you know, we talking the community. So we're talking like the neighbors, we're talking about classmates, we're talking about crewmates, and we're talking about police. You know, like any of them could be watching. You know, no one is gonna stop this from happening, from you getting smoked right now. Nobody, not even the police. You know what I'm saying? They're gonna watch. And we battle in front of police too, especially if they see a crowd and they think it's a fight. They try to break it up, and then they look in there, it's just a dance battle. They're like, oh, okay.
Did you ever have like police just stop by and just kick it and watch? And
Oh yeah. We use that as a means of distraction a lot of times, because police weren't always the friendliest in our communities. So to avoid violence from the police, we would distract them. So maybe I would like start like rapping or do some Chicago footwork, do some dancing. Like, hey, sir, you want to see some Chicago footwork? You want to see me? Let me show you what I got real quick. Boom. Don't even give them a chance to say yes or no. Bow. They're looking like, okay, and now everything's cordial, like they're not focused on like, picking on anybody or anything like that. So, we use that to our advantage a lot, and that's why there's documentaries out right now called Chicago Footwork. Footwork Saved My Life, because we learned how to articulate more, with the why and the how. And that's what I'm talking about. Like everyone needs to just no, just coming over here. I just want to learn a kick and do a tutorial so I can go viral. It's not going to end well because like you're just going to keep doing that with everything that you do.
Yeah, to me, it reminds me, and I have this, I don't call it debate, but this awareness that when people travel, there's multiple ways to travel, and I don't want to knock on any one way to travel or another, because I think there's a time and place for things,
Mm-hmm.
but there's, let's say you go to, I don't know, Thailand or Vietnam, and you're like, I'm going to stay at the best resort and just stay on the resort the whole time.
Oh,
Yeah, versus like, I'm going to go explore the city and, get to know the locals, eat the food, right? Like, I don't know, street food versus whatever they're feeding you at the resort.
that's exactly what happened to me in Estonia. So in 2012, this is actually when I met my wife. 2012, I was in Tallinn, Estonia at this hip hop camp called Camp of Hip Hop. It was my first time going. And, I had a really good time. I had a lot of fun. And afterwards, I taught my classes, I met with a lot of the students, and afterwards they had this voting poll of teachers, like who was the best teacher from this camp. And they had like all these different names of all the different teachers. Now, we had legends on that list. Now, of course, they're all incredible teachers in their own right, but I was voted number one. And I was trying to figure out, like, why was I voted number one? And this was my first time coming. And I found out that, like, the students voted me number one because I wasn't staying in my cabin at Camp of Hip Hop after my classes. I was out all night playing Uno, playing with the kids, running around, teaching them stuff on the side, jumping on the trampoline, having a really good time at this camp, and that meant the world to them versus just like, high and by, I'm a celebrity teacher type energy. So I never try to like have people feel that. I never want people to feel that from me, because I don't come from that. Like the way I learned Chicago footwork was in somebody's house. The way I learned Chicago footwork was on the sidewalk with somebody. The way I learned Chicago footwork was in the grocery store or like a sleepover or like, at the movies. Like it was a day-to-day thing. It wasn't like, let's turn it off, let's turn it on type vibe. And I don't want anybody to feel that from me, and I don't want anybody to expect that, oh, I didn't think that you were going to come and hang out with us because you're some famous teacher or something like that, because if that's the feeling that you have on the inside, then that's making you hesitant to even approach other human beings because you think that they think that they're bigger than you. And I don't have time for that. I see value in my youngest member. I have 100 members in my crew. I see equal value in my youngest member, and I can learn a lot of things from them. And when I see my youngest member, I want to hang out. I want to connect. I don't care if we're 20 years apart. Let's connect. You know what I'm saying? tell your mom that we're all hanging out next time. We're gonna have a good time. You know what I mean? Like let's learn, let's grow, let's build. So yeah, and what's crazy is that same camp of hip hop. Shouts out to Camp of Hip Hop. I've gotten brought back every year as the only teacher that's been there every single year since then, since 2012. I'm going in a couple months. The other teacher who always would come back is Uncle Shake. He passed away a couple years ago. So I'm trying to represent even harder now, you know, to like show that love to the community and not just on the stage for the classes.
Regarding like the values and the preservation of these things, you know, would it be fair to say that gangs and violence were a part of Chicago footwork culture at some point?
Oh yeah.
So how do you preserve that history, especially for people who are getting into the style but don't come from those backgrounds? So for example, I've seen other situations where someone's like, oh yeah, this is a battle, we get, you know, like this is where we come from, and it gets violent, but the opposing viewpoint, well, you know, maybe the violence should be dropped and things should move forward, but not just include the violence or that kind of energy, you know?
Well, in Chicago footwork, it's the safest way to express. It's the safest way to express our fire. It's very rare to have like actual fights from Chicago footwork, even as aggressive as it gets, you know? So I don't see any reason why we should turn the certain mentalities off. And yes, Chicago footwork does have a connection point to gang mentality, because a lot of gang members joined footwork groups and dance groups, and brought that energy with them, brought that mindset with them. But there was a lot of qualities in that. It's not just all bad, you know what I mean? Like, you want to protect, you want to look out for your teammates, you want to look out for your family, even through a dance battle, you know? And it's not, this is the thing. A lot of the dance battles were crew-based, were squad-based, were group-based, were mob-based, were clique-based. And it was not timed. It was not organized. So because of this is a life thing. That means this is a life decision on both sides where you got to get out of this together. This isn't something that like someone's going to blow the whistle and now you guys can just go home. This is something that you just got yourself into because maybe you're in a different person's territory as far as a club. You're at a club where there's a main group that always goes there. And now you're going there. And they come at you, you know, in the party, surrounded by all the chaos. You know, is it every person for themselves? No, because that's not the mentality of Chicago footwork. It's crew-based. You know, because that's our roots. And that's some of the qualities that gangs also help put into this.
Would it be fair to say that even though Chicago footwork has some roots in the gang side, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it was in itself already an entry point for those gangs to find a way out of the violence.
Yes.
And that's where Chicago footwork is starting from.
Yes, because in the house generation, you know, you had a lot of different groups that were also motivated and inspired by college fraternities and sororities. U5U, K59, like, you know, the mentality or the organized settings of these different groups, House Arrest 2. So I think it's not, so when I say the whole gang thing, I'm not saying it in a sense of that's like the whole blueprint. There's all these different types of inspirations of different types of group mentality, all the way just to the household of the family, you know? You go to a lot of these Black communities and, you know, Latinx communities, and you mess with one person in front of their house, and you thought that they were the only person in that house, and 25 people come out that house to defend each other. There it is right there. That's the roots right there, you know? looking out for each other, waking up, looking out for each other, going to sleep, gotta wake back up and look out for each other, you know? So it's like,
So if I hear you right, just because it has gang affiliation or gangs itself doesn't mean it's all bad. It's just like
no,
there's still some qualities about that culture that's still worth preserving, such as like the family protection element.
I'm so key about the protection. I want that to come across really quickly. You know, Barcelona, that same person, Ulwi, who brought me out to Oyofe festival, before I was even a part of the festival, I went out there just to connect with him. He was like, hey, you want to go to a club? I was like, cool. This guy was letting me sleep at his spot. He didn't have to do that. I take that very seriously. You know, people, when they want their space or they don't want to be that close or that connected, they'll try to give you a hotel. They'll try to get you other type of setups, or they just maybe think that you want that type of space. Me personally, if you invite me into your house, like I really appreciate that. Like I take that serious because you didn't have to. So we went to the club. He didn't know, but I made a vow inside because of how I grew up that since we're going here together, we're leaving here together. Now, maybe you might not be that serious or might not be that extreme about things, but that's just how I am, you know, like, because I've been in a lot of situations like that. So what I mean is, if some stuff goes down, I'm not going to look at you like, oh, I didn't grow up with you, so I don't have your back right now. I'm looking at you like we are together in this. We are on the same team right now. You got me in your house. We broke bread together. So, like, I'm going to look out for you. And sure enough, a fight broke out at the club in Barcelona. In 1 second, my whole arm moved him out the way. Once I moved him completely out the way. That's how I react. That's my reflexes, you know, because we're together. So I got to make sure we're good. That was my position growing up, to make sure my people were good. Yo, we're all good. We good. All right, let's move around. You know what I mean? Like, as a unit. So, and I hope he felt that, you know, and that's what I do in the dance battle. You know, it's not about Charles getting the shine. It's about the whole unit looking good by us looking out for each other, like a group of ants or like a chessboard, you know what I'm saying? Value every piece, you know? So like, how are you playing this position on the dance floor in this group battle? You know, what position do you play? But it can't be a solo one. You know what I mean? So are you playing a position where you can hype up your group? You know, with that in mind, I need to hype up my group to get them going. Or are you playing the position where you're like talking to people like, hey, yo, Kevin's going to go out next. Kevin's going to go out next. Yo, let him slip through right here so nobody sees. Boom, spins out. You know what I mean? Or like, are you the one who knows everybody that well so that you like know what to call out when they're dancing or something? Or you know when they're getting tired, but their pride is in the way so that they're going to keep going, but you don't want them to look tired. So you're like, yo, you good. And they slide back and everything looks polished. You know what I mean? Or like, you know, and these are just some things that like we've learned, the mannerisms, the mindsets of like our fam, because we gave each other that opportunity to get to know each other so that we can protect each other when the time counts. You know, you can't protect somebody if you can't learn anything about that person. Like, how can you protect them if you don't know anything? You know, so it's important to get to know each other and get closer so that you feel like that family energy, mindset, gang, squad, clique, unit, whatever it is, whatever you want to call it. You know what I mean? I'm really big on that. And speaking of that Chicago Footworkology camp that we do every August in Footwork Appreciation Month, this year for the first time we're doing Chicago Footworkology Crew Edition, to even support more about the importance of crew life. Because there's a lot more people with the system being involved of like promoting self, me. People forgetting about the qualities and the benefits that you can only get from being a part of something bigger than just you. And so we're bringing that to the forefront by bringing OGs and originators of some of these dance groups and having them have some of their crewmates come with them so that the students can feel empowered and feel supported and be like, wow, that's a team, that's a family right there.
Wow, I love that explanation. I'm glad I asked you those questions.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, I felt like mid answer, your response was like reframing how I view gangs. Yeah. Just because I do admit that prior to literally that response, my views was like more limited. But yeah, so it doesn't have to be all bad. There's definitely a lot of good qualities that's worth preserving.
Yes, worth preserving. Now nobody's perfect. So that's why I think that question you asked me earlier about like, is there any benefits from this side of the world or the spectrum, and this side, like helping each other and like learning things from each other, that is very important, because then eventually it just becomes a loop and it can become toxic if you're not learning or growing together or separate to bring more things to the table, so that's where I feel like certain things get twisted, because like people start to get comfortable and set in their ways where nothing else can come in, except for the control that they set. That's what I disagree. And that's why me and my crew were very like focused on growing the right way, but still holding on to our roots and our foundation, which is a lot of this crew-like mindset and mentality.
Yeah, I see that very clearly in you and in the crew. And I love how much you guys are doing for Chicago. And I have to wonder, is Chicago still the same neighborhood or same city that you grew up in, or has there been a lot of gentrification, and has it changed, and how has that affected Chicago?
Gentrification has happened while I was a kid and before I was even around. And that's why a lot of the sound and the music that we hold dear to our heart was even created because of gentrification, because of the pain, because of the struggle in the project buildings and the neighborhoods. And yeah, just moving people around. Like I said, we're from, either one of the most or the most segregated city in the United States of America. And that means we had a very segregated mindset because it was pushed on us that way, from public housing, no support in that department, like so much toxicity and the lack of support, that people get illnesses and don't have a lot of outlets, don't have a lot of access to things that are healthy, mind, body, soul, holding on to what they can, their roots, their traditions, Chicago Footwork. Yeah, so that played a really big part, and that's been happening for a really long time in Chicago. But you know what I just found out? I found out that a Haitian man founded Chicago, and that's crazy.
A Haitian man's founded Chicago?
Yeah. I forgot his name, but he was the first guy.
Like he founded the city? Or what do you mean he founded
Yeah,
Chicago?
I don't think he named it Chicago.
Okay.
But I think he like lived here, there. I think he lived there. I think he was the first person to like actually like be there or something like that.
Like the first settler early on?
First settler, yeah.
Or something like that? Yeah.
Something like that, yeah. So I think anybody's hearing this, if they're curious, to look up like Haitian guy founding Chicago or something like that. I don't think it's hard to find.
You know what? That's very interesting. I didn't know that, and if it's true, I wouldn't be surprised. What does surprise me though is what I would call low level or very basic forms of racism. Say if someone's like, "Go back to your country," I'm like, "Well, okay, cool. I know what you want to say, but did you know that most of the places in America are not even English words?
Exactly.
So like Los Angeles, San Francisco, these aren't English words.
Yeah. Like when I first moved to LA, and I was like, wait, La Cienega. I was like, wait, hold up. Tahunga. What? What is this? okay, I don't think this is. Wait, Los Angeles. You know what I mean?
Right,
So,
like North Dakota.
North
South
Dakota.
Dakota, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, and I woke up really, really fast. I mean, the Madonna tour helped me wake up really fast. We're talking 21 years old, fresh out of school. Like, well, I tried. And really getting that global education of just like things that are going on. So Prince J-Ron, who did the tour with me, he was trying to open me up. He was trying to wake me up. But he didn't want to blow my mind, because like you don't realize how locked in your mind is to like being comfortable with the beliefs that you have until someone comes and challenges those beliefs, or not even challenges them, just says something that might trigger and make you feel like it's challenging, but it's not. It's just information that you can take or you don't have to take, So he didn't want me to feel like too pressed in a corner to the point where I'm defending myself. So he was like, okay, I'm going to just do this one little thing with you. I'm going to put a quarter on the table, a dime, a nickel, and a penny all lined up on the side where the faces are of the presidents. Okay, he said, all right, you see the quarter, the dime, the nickel, and the penny? I was like, yes. He was like, now, tell me the first thing that stands out to you. And I looked, and I just kept looking, and I was like, I was like, well, the first thing that stands out to me is that this penny is brown, and the other ones are silver. He was like, yes, correct. That is a thing that stands out. And then I was thinking about it. He was like, why is that? And I looked, I was like, well, that's Abraham Lincoln on the penny. He's like, yeah. I was like, ooh, I noticed something else. The quarter, the dime, and the nickel are all facing the opposite direction as the penny. He was like, yes, that's another thing. I was like, and the penny's only worth 1 cent, but the others are worth more. He's like, why is that? I was like, well, my guess is because Abraham Lincoln had this reputation of freeing the slaves, maybe. And I was just like thinking of these things for myself at that point. And that's what he wanted. He didn't want to try to press me in a corner or anything like that,
He struck your curiosity, huh?
Yeah. I was like, that's crazy. Whoa. So the next thing that I thought about was like, this was all intentional. A quadrillion pennies that have ever been made were all intentional to be that value in that sense and face that other direction. Talk about mocking someone like at an all-time high. Like let's just make you 1 cent all throughout the United States. Like that's crazy, which makes me question like what else has been a message,
Yeah, like there's obviously racism in America. It's undeniable, right?
Yeah.
But the more I think about it, it kind of doesn't make sense to have racism in America because it's such a diverse country.
Yes.
Where it's like you can't say, oh, this country is only this group, right?
Yeah.
Because it doesn't exist here.
It doesn't. It does not. It does not exist here, but at the same time, I think it's over and done with. I think the fairy tales about Thanksgiving and the Pilgrims and the Native people all like joining together in harmony and just like, gobble, gobble, all this other stuff. I just feel like that's just that get that out of the systems now. Get that, stop.
Yeah. Did you ever look into the story behind Pocahontas?
No, don't. You're about to blow my mind, aren't you, dude? Because I watched Pocahontas.
Okay.
Growing up.
Okay. Do you want to know deeper?
I feel like if I watch it again now, are you telling me like if I watch it again now, like it's
I don't remember what the actual movie is like. I've seen it too. I'm sure everyone who grew up in the 90s has, right?
Exactly.
But the original source material, which is based on a true story, is there was a native girl, and there was a English male character, right? But their interaction was not how it's portrayed in the movie. Yeah.
This was based on a real story?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So when you're ready to make that leap, look into the real story, you're like, wow, I can't believe they turned this story into a romanticized version. Yeah. I'll leave it at that.
Whew, just you saying I'll leave it at that already, that's just heavy enough for me. Cause like, yeah, that's crazy. Yeah. It's just, and this, yeah.
Because like, I don't claim to know all the source material possibilities for other Disney movies, like Little Mermaid or Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs and so forth, for example,
Yeah.
So I'm going to assume that Little Mermaid is fictional because it's underwater people, right? Unless they somehow pull out the archives from Atlantis or something. I don't know.
Well, people were mad at the fact that this new Little Mermaid movie was starring a black woman. The newest one that just came out last year. Like it was a lot of backlash on that. At the same time, a lot of support, kind of 50-50.
My opinion on that is, I think if you're going to make a change that makes sense for like, hey, we're actually going to tell this story in its like I think like Black Panther makes sense, for example.
Yeah.
Like Black Panther makes a lot of sense, right? But I feel like the Little Mermaid, not that I'm like for or against the Little Mermaid being any skin color, but I feel like they should make a lazy change. Like actually tell a full story of how that makes sense versus like let's just change one thing.
Let's just change it. There needs to be a backstory. There needs to make sense to take people along from the very beginning of a healthy like change up. Of a story. I get that. I get that. I'm all for like a really good story to make sense so that like I have something to hold on to as I'm learning new things when I'm watching.
Did you ever see the Woman King or the Woman?
Oh yeah.
So that's actually based on a real story.
Yeah, I heard about that. Yeah. That was powerful.
Yeah, so that's like what I'm really into, right?
Yeah.
So actually, that movie made me appreciate Black Panther more.
Yeah.
Because apparently I'm going to butcher this, so someone fact check me. But the tribe or the group that the Woman King came from is the same group of the women warriors in Black Panther.
Really?
Yes, they came from the same tribe, so that's where Black Panther pulled their sources from.
That would make sense.
Yeah,
that would make a lot of sense. Yeah.
And so when I saw that, I was like, oh, wait a minute, like this is how it connects. So Black Panther actually went into like history and like, hey, what's our like strong warrior tribes, right?
And I feel like what people don't realize sometimes is that like these films are so powerful that they cross over into the inspiration of something totally different that someone else is doing with their time. For example, me. Chicago Footwork is what I'm doing. I'm not out here, with weapons and swords and stuff like, defending my land in that way. But it pumps me up to be like, I want a group of women warriors in my crew just like going crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what I want. You know what I mean? And so I've seen that growing up, and I've been raised and trained by a lot of powerful women. And so from a young age, I knew I wanted like that type of like, backing, you know what I mean? Or front line or whatever position that, these powerful women wanted to play. And so we have a very balanced, diverse group of that. You know what I mean? As a matter of fact, the girls in my crew, when it comes to like battling against other girls, sometimes they're not even that interested. They're like, because they've been trained to just like go against alien. If an alien came down to earth right now and was like, I do Chicago Footwork, they would be first up to try to be like, battle me, you know what I'm saying? So it's just like, it's really awesome and motivating to see some of these movies and to be able to translate it into what we're doing, articulate it into what we're doing, and that's why I encourage more articulating support from a young age in the systems. I was unfortunately a part of the system that didn't have like really good like art entertainment support even though I turned out good, but that's because of my home. My home were musicians. They were musical background, you know, and my mom was very supportive of that. But like, I wish I did have like good outlets in school, you know. They reward the small few of people who like obey math, history, science, you know, in which there's qualities in a lot of this stuff, but like some of it's, you know, pointless, especially if you got books from like ancient times and you haven't changed anything in the class and it's all outdated. You're just trying to force people to just do stuff at that point. But like the small few who get the straight A's can become a foreign exchange student in another country, you know. But like, I feel like that artistic kid who was really great at like seeing things in a, you know, in a certain way, they get looked over because they're not obeying getting the straight A's. You don't get the straight A's, you don't get to see the world. Control. I flunked. I don't know if I said that in the last interview. I failed 6th grade and I had to do 6th grade twice. I went to 4 high schools, and I did talk about this a little bit last time, but I don't think I talked about me flunking. I went to 4 high schools and I dropped out my junior year. I dropped out my junior year. Now, what's funny about that is that like you get looked down upon. You did 6th grade twice. Oh my God, you're stupid. You know what I mean? Well, if it wasn't for me doing 6th grade the second time, I would not have met the individuals that I called my bros that started my crew 23 years ago. And here we are 23 years later, you know, still holding on to that crew. And we're one of the first Chicago Footwork global crews, all because I flunked 6th grade. So how am I supposed to look at that? You know, I don't think I'm supposed to look at that in the way of like, well, I honestly didn't understand anything. No, I was just not paying that much attention because I was paying more attention to all the people. I love people, you know. Give me something where I could be more catering to the people and learn from the people, and there could be a great exchange with the people. Give me some activities in class, more activities where we team up and we group up and we do stuff where we can get to know each other and we can get a grade from that type of participation and that type of learning. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, it makes sense on why you do a lot of bridge work, in my sense, right? Because the connection between student and teacher or student and education system requires a bridge in itself versus forcing the students to adhere to the system, which may work for some, but doesn't work for everybody, right?
Right, exactly. Okay, class, today we're going to learn about trees. How do you spell trees? T-R-E. I can't. I'm sorry. I just can't. I need more. Give me some more enthusiasm. You know what I'm saying? Go home as a teacher and just put your heart in this for your prep for the next day.
Yeah, I have a friend who attended attended school in Oregon, and when I tell him my California education system, he's like horrified.
Wait. So I'm guessing that the system in Oregon was like lit, and then the one in California was crazy.
Yeah, at least, well, maybe California is a big summary, or a big generalization, but my experience of high school in San Diego, in that neighborhood at least, was, you don't really know differently until you hear of other people. It's like, oh, you have way different experience than I did, you know?
Yeah. What type of lunch did you guys have in school? Oh, okay. We had, I don't know if it was oatmeal or if that was just like grits or something. It was just always white in a bowl, you know, like, I'm not saying that's what we experienced. I'm just using it as an example, you know. Did you see the movie The Matrix?
I did, yeah.
The first one?
Yeah, of course, the best one.
Yes, the best one. When Neo finally discovered that the real world was like, you know, he went on the ship and stuff. And they were all in the little cafeteria part, and they were just eating this like gook, like yeah, you know, like. some schools, you can tell by the lack of energy in every little part of it, you know what I'm saying, from the food. I mean, of course, there's a financial part of it too, but it just trickles down from the top to all the way to the students, and it's just like there needs to be some standing up for something so that there could be more support and more beautiful energy, and man, so I'm a teacher, and this is why I'm talking right now. I flunked. I dropped out at age 19 in high school. And then at age 20, I left Popeye's Chicken, the restaurant I was working at.
Whenever I pass by Popeyes, I think of you nowadays. I don't eat there, but I think of this is where he is getting down.
That's so crazy. That's really crazy. Because I really tried to make noise in my Popeye's Chicken that I was, newspaper article reporters were like coming up to the Popeyes, like asking me questions like, so how does it feel to like work at this restaurant and be trying to chase your dreams in Chicago Footwork? Like, what are you doing? Like the transition between the two, like, and so like that type of stuff. But, at age 20, I left Popeyes because I got hired as an assistant teacher at a high school. That's the last place I expected to be. I just left high school, and that's why I was talking about where I saw my first mirrors. It was a brand new high school that got built, 35th and Costner, between Pulaski and Cicero, called Little Village High School, for anybody who watches this later and who knows where that's at. Yeah, I was an assistant teacher there under Leda Villegas, Lady Soul, and but now I'm not the student in a certain way. Now I gotta sit in these teachers' meetings next to the PE teacher, next to the gym, the swimming coach, the math teacher. I'm like, wow, is this like a new opportunity? Is this like a new shot for me to like voice, like as a former student, what I would care about in this thing? Because when I was teaching those classes, I wanted to make sure it was lit for the students. And I wanted to make sure that they knew that they can count on me and that they can come to me if they needed to. I wanted to make sure that they didn't feel like this super separation between us, and that's why I'm still in that field right now. And that's why I feel like I connected with those kids in Estonia at Camp of Hip Hop. Like my wife was my student, she took the classes at Camp of Hip Hop. Now we didn't get married right away. We didn't date right away. It was a part of the experience in 2012 of going to Camp of Hip Hop, just entertaining and showing love to the students and stuff, and not knowing that my wife was going to be there. I just feel like I can't get out of this world because I don't want to. And because all the students that I've helped train, a handful of them are teachers now and they're doing their thing. Like I got teachers out here in the Bay that teach Chicago Footwork, but they don't just do it for themselves. They do it for that bridge work mentality that I do it for. So they bring other teachers from Chicago out here to make sure that people are getting the source as well as getting the understanding of what it feels like to not be from Chicago. Because people have that question too. They're like, hey, Charles, like, I want to ask you how it feels to be from Chicago, but is it okay if I ask one of your students who are not from Chicago, how does it feel for them to be doing Chicago Footwork or teaching Chicago Footwork and not being from there? That's the narrative now. It's not just from Chicago, and those people are sharing their experiences as well as sharing like why they want to stay connected to the city of Chicago while they're like growing in this. And that's just, I don't know. It's all really beautiful if we approach it the right way and we keep growing with the times and we never let our passion fade, as teachers and as students. We got to keep finding these reasons to stay motivated. And I say that not even just for the dance teachers, for all teachers. And students.
Yeah, I hear you. So speaking of education and understanding deeper knowledge, let's talk about your experience as a judge. So what are your judging criterias? Does it change whether you're judging a single style event, such as Chicago Footwork, or Does it change if you are doing open styles and multiple styles are being represented?
Yes. Well, first and foremost, if I'm put in the judge position, I take that seriously. But the last thing I want is for the dancers to take it so serious where they're just like, I didn't win, I should quit dance. This person didn't choose me, that means I suck. Take it how you want it, but don't take it in a way where it's like one person is the community. That's just not how I think about it. You know, if you have some type of respect for me as a dancer and you take what I'm saying or what I'm choosing serious, make sure you take it in a productive way so that you can grow. You know, not in a way that's going to tear you down, because that's not why I'm here. I'm not here to judge anything to tear everybody down. I'm here to like give you whatever you need in a productive way to push you towards like some type of like higher version of yourself that's already in you. But certain people are lazy to find, and certain people are lost and they can't find it. So, you know, and I'm just here to support, you know. So what I look for is very simple. It's, you know, rhythm, deep pockets. Yeah.
That fifth pocket on your pants.
Yeah, come on. You know, those pants, those cargo pants where you got all these little zippers and everything. Yes. How many pockets you got? You know, definitely want to see like you're deeply connected to what you're listening to, even if you haven't heard this before. I can't tell the difference. I can't tell if you haven't heard this before. That's how deep your pockets are. That's how much you love music and movement that connects to it. I can't even tell if you've heard this song before. Personality. But personality normally comes out in a confident way, in a comfortable way. If you've built enough comfort with yourself in music. If you're not training enough in that way to like enjoy, to finally have the space to enjoy, then sometimes your personality doesn't really come out, or it looks like you're faking it and someone just told you to put this front on. And I can tell the difference, you know, just like MT Pop. Yeah, he's spent enough time, you know, working on his craft and connecting with it in his everyday life to the point where now it's not a distraction and it's not the main focus. And now he can use his focus on other things because the dance is a part of him already now. So now he can just really enjoy and smile and do whatever he wants, you know what I'm saying? And be fully engaged, you know what I mean? And multitask, if that's what you want to call it. Yes. So that I would like to see, if you're an upper body dancer, I would like to see you balance it out and use your lower body as well. If you're a lower body dancer, I would like to see you balance it out and let me see you incorporate things with your upper body as well. And that doesn't mean separate from each other. That doesn't mean plant your legs somewhere and just move your arms a whole bunch of times and then plant your arms somewhere and then just move your feet like you're river dancing. No, I'm saying like, no disrespect to river dancing, but I'm saying like incorporate everything at some point, you know? Take me on a ride. I started an event called Footwork Frenzy in LA in 2012 because I felt like a lot of dancers were like stepping to get somewhere to plant their feet so that they can use their upper body for 90% of their round. And I was looking down at their feet. I was intentionally looking down at their feet while they were moving their upper body like, I'm waiting.
Was this doing a footwork round or is this doing what styles?
Any style.
Okay.
I was like, it doesn't really matter to me because your feet brought you here. So even if the style is focused up top, is there a law that's saying you can't move your feet? What is that? You know what I'm saying? Because it's the same thing if you're only moving your feet all the time. You know, are you not supposed to move your upper body? Like, what is this? Are we separate from each other? What is this? So that's why I looked at it. I was like, what is this? I'm working my butt off to like be a whole dancer. Even though I do Chicago footwork, I got upper body moves. My shoulders are moving. Everything is like, it's not to say like just do it senselessly or pointlessly. Make sense of it. But like, know that it makes sense because you got a whole body, you know? And I just didn't see anybody's feet moving, to keep it simple. And so I made an event that was an all-style event. You could bring any dance that you want, but I want to see you using your footwork to any music that we play. And so it's a one-on-one, and everybody's got 2 rounds. Let's say pick a dance style real quick, because we're about to
Boogaloo.
Okay, all right, Boogaloo. Okay, cool. And I'm picking everybody's gonna probably predict that I'm gonna say Chicago Footwork. Chicago Footwork, cool. All right. So Boogaloo and Chicago Footwork, right? All right. So 2 rounds. The DJ is gonna play some music that supports boogalooing, you know, and then the DJ is also gonna play some music that supports Chicago Footwork. But it's their choice which music they're gonna play first. They chose Boogaloo. Boom. So we're both battling to that music, that genre, right? Or supporting that style of dance. Cool. My Chicago Footwork, I have to rock my Chicago Footwork out to your type of music. Okay. And then you're getting down, you're super confident because this is your world. Yeah. Boom. Second round, my world, Chicago Footwork tracks, but we both are battling to it. Okay. Any type of footwork you want, just to be fair, so that you have a moment to show your quality, your strength, but you're also getting challenged to different types of music with your footwork. Okay. If there's a tie, the judge picks one other random type of music. It could be whatever they want, and then we break the tie. Okay. It's a very simple concept, but it brings all different types of walks of life into one room because the focus is lower body footwork. So I thought it was a good idea, and I've been keeping it going, and I've been doing it for about, I did 18 of them now. The last one we did in Chicago sold out the room, like packed out the room, not sold out the room. I don't even think there was a big cost to get in. And and I incorporated that into my nonprofit organization now, a creative network. So Footwork Frenzy started in LA at Movement Lifestyle Studios. And we did it about 3 or 4 times out there. And then we did it about 3 or 4 times in the Bay. And it's always been great responses because there's so many dancers that want to move their feet. And there's so many dance styles that weren't even getting that looked at, that move their feet already. When I came to the Bay, we had turfing, you know what I mean? Like, we had Chicago Footwork in the building. We had breaking. What else? We had house footwork. We had some performances of partner dancing, like salsa and all of these types of things that you can use your different footwork for. We had tap dance. In Slovakia, we did one. The semifinals was a Lindy Hop dancer, contemporary footwork, Chicago footwork, and breaking. That's crazy. When are you going to see that? You know, when are you going to see a Lindy Hop dancer going against a contemporary dancer that's moving her toes, just wiggling her toes around, doing ankle footwork moves, with making lines with her feet and her socks and stuff. It was just different, you know, and everybody felt empowered. So I just felt like it was good. But yeah, I started that because I just felt like certain people weren't using their lower body enough. And so I want to see that full body thing. That was a very detailed breakdown I just gave. And I wouldn't give that at the event because I know we're on a time crunch. But yeah, right here, right now, you're going to get the details of why I want to judge like that. So rhythm, you know, let me see a deep pocket of connection. Let me see your identity, your personality, you know, show me some colors, you know, show me some stuff that you can do up top, down low. You know, if you like to go to the floor, that's your cup of tea, you know, cheers. And then also, how do you conversate with the person that you're battling and or connect with the audience that's watching? You know, I'm not mentioning me as a judge. You don't need to do a whole showcase for me. How do you conversate with the person that you're battling? I'm not a fan of like, this is a battle, but you don't even look like you're battling. Actually face that person sometimes, show them that you're trying to give them your energy, because this is a conversation. And what's the problem with the conversation? If they approached you on the street and you guys were just talking, you would talk. So talk. You know what I mean? Don't not face them, and then give the crowd some energy too, give us a show, it should be fun. It should be exciting.
Okay, yeah, that was a great breakdown. Thank you for sharing that. So to our listeners out there, we just had a segment on dance commentaries and breaking down what Charles was either judging or doing his demos or giving insight into what happens in a Chicago Footwork cipher.
Yes.
That part is probably going to be cut out into its own clips, into its own playlist. So watch out for that, right? Yeah, how can people best support you? How can people best support the culture?
Oh man, step by step and building connections with each other, and actually, trying to learn not only the movement, but the cultural movement. Like the why, and not just the what. Would be very, very beneficial, not just for Chicago footwork culture, but also for you, so that you don't get really confused, because there could be a lot of confusion if you only try to tap into what looks intriguing. But that could be a seed. That could be like the first initial, but I don't think it should finish there. I think it should just keep going deeper and deeper if you stay interested or not. So I would say, we got classes online. If you're far away, I do groundwork, I do light work. Those are two of my classes every Monday, every Thursday. I've been doing it since the pandemic. I rarely miss those classes. Even if I'm traveling, I pop open my computer and train people around the world for a very low price. And, and even then, money's not even the situation. If people, are serious and they want to guest, I support them any way I can. Private lessons. There's a lot of teachers out here in Chicago Footwork that have been living this life, and they can teach you different styles. There's a lot of crews out here that people can learn about, just in case if they get interested and they want to potentially join one of the crews. My crew's not the only crew out here. And there's a lot of history in Chicago on why we are the way that we are, musically, television, all that stuff, But yeah, definitely there's more people around the world that are doing this now, and I encourage more people to learn. But we're not one of those cultures that's just going to try to aim for this to go viral. I'm not really focused on Chicago Footwork going viral in the sense of everybody should just like take and just do what they want with it. I would rather you come correct, like as if it was like kung fu or something, like I said in the last interview, like dojos, you know what I mean? Like, because these are lives that we're dealing with, and people who have passed away who want us to keep carrying this on the right way. And we got a long way to go, but it's exciting. And moments like this where I get to talk about the stuff, it's just, it makes it all worth it for me,
Yeah, beautiful said. Any shout outs you'd like to mention?
I would like to shout out my crew, Creation Global. I would like to shout out my teachers, everybody who's ever showed me something, my students who are working really, really hard, my nonprofit organization, Creative Network, and all the committed people in all these different cultures and communities that are like keeping everything nice and healthy. Yeah, just keep cooking, looking for the healthy food, looking for people who cook and put their foot in their food. I think that's important. Put your foot in your food. And yeah, travel if you can, or travel from one side of town to the other side of town in your same city if you've never been there.
Yeah. Okay. And final closing thoughts for our listeners out there. What would you like to close out with?
The thing that's in my head right now is love. That's the thing that's in my head. Love is in my head. So I think I'll just leave it at that. I think people can take that and run with it.
All right.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been a pleasure having you here. And then I look forward to our third episode in the future.
Yes. Come on, bro.
Yeah. Thank you again, man. Pleasure.
Thank you. Appreciate you.